Okay, hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here. Today, I'm going to be presenting to you quite an important video. I'm going to be sharing with you important, significant, accurate coordinates of a particular wash in which track marks were found, and it was presumed that they belonged to Dylan Round's pickup truck, his Ford F-150, or that they were just simply very similar. Did we ever get to the bottom of it truly? Not really. It's still pending, ongoing, and maybe it ties in line with the recent searches and towards the end of 2022 when they were going through washes. It might all come to some kind of better understanding in today's video, okay? So I can say with a high degree of certainty and confidence that this video is all under control, that the coordinates are accurate, and that not a single human has been able to do this before within this case. Not a single human has been able to successfully provide accurate, specific coordinates to this wash until I popped up. Okay? That's a fact. Reality is, this could have been done much earlier on, though I wasn't aware of this helicopter footage, okay? So shout out to the odd individuals in the background that let me know about this old footage so I could review it and do my analysis of it, which has all led to this video, okay? What I want to say as well, very, very important, so hopefully people are listening, and I'll reiterate this point later on in the video. Whilst it's true coordinates are being provided today, simply documenting and explaining archived footage from the past, that is what it simply is. And maybe some have been out there in the wash searching about volunteers, people just messing about, hanging out, in which Candice Cooley doesn't know of them or doesn't approve of them. This is just simply saying, here's some footage from the past. This is the location of it. Simple as. That's all it is. Just documenting things as we go along and keeping this case alive, because humans are starting to walk away from the case, but I'm still standing, okay? In addition, the order of this video will be very specific, and it needs to be for it to work. So I appreciate it if you're patient and stick throughout this video to truly understand and see the coordinates, the location of this wash. What I will say is, in the past, and I mean in the past, I was hovering over these areas, roughly speaking. So unknown to me back then, I was technically right, okay? What I do want to start off with first, to allow people to come on into this video, we need to check the comments out of the last wash video I did when reviewing that helicopter footage. We can play that footage again in today's video in case you don't know what it's about. You can see it visually again, so you can remember it, okay? See if there's any questions, any additional points of interesting information, etc. What we'll also do is much later on into the video, we'll take a look at the comments of the most recent video too, and some long paragraph by the Shack Lady. Shack Lady has been present again recently within the Dylan Rounds case and community, going about on different channels or so, like Pancakes, and popping into my videos here and there. So that's interesting. We'll see what she's got to say, analyse if necessary, give my opinion if possible, etc. So today's video is all under control. Just make sure to be present throughout to fully understand it. Let's now head on over to the comment section of that previous video I did. What I'll just do is arrange it to the latest comments, start from the bottom. Glenn Webster, I want to thank you for your due diligence on Kenny and Dylan Rounds. Welcome. Cleo, good investigator work. Cleo. Shout out to Cleo, of course, for her presence on the channel as well as her super chats. Very good of her. And of course, shout out to Maria as well. She's a good person too. As well as recently, Arkansas, Graham, I believe Ghost, and there could be a couple of other individuals, Sea Org as well. Shout out to them. It's good of them for the super chats. What other comments? Here we go. We got MW. I think MW has been around previous, but not seen him for a bit. So their comment is, I think the searchers have strayed away from where the clues for Dylan's case were to. I'm guessing the phone ping and wash tracks area, maybe. Warlight Raf, you're back on track. Great work. So appreciate that. I can agree with what MW is saying. If we think about it, and it might make more sense later on in this video, from what we've heard from Candice Cooley in the different interviews, that Candice has wanted to check this area out, check the pond once again, check the dirt mound in the past, double check that, double check here, go back to the grain shed property. It's like spread about, right? Ticking things off the list and double checking as well. But if the true clues are in a different direction, an area, then why aren't you over there and concentrating? It would make more sense, right? Unless they came to a complete dead end, sort of working their way back, tracking back. But it just depends how much of the wash they searched, let's say. Okay, let's move on. We got Beatrice saying Brenner knew where to take Dylan's body, so no one could ever find him far, far away. Well, could be true, but I think end of the day, Brenner is arguably the key to finding Dylan. That there was an opportunity previously for Brenner to reach out to the family in some way, plea deal being made, and then the family could like accept it and then reveal the information, and then they know where to find Dylan. That never happened though. Candice Cooley Justin turned down that offer. They want to find Dylan themselves. And whilst that shows kind of like determination and a bit of confidence in them doing what they're doing, could be seen as a bit stubborn as well. And sometimes stubbornness can lead to missing out on certain opportunities, possibly. In this case, it's like making a deal with the devil, but is there a greater reason for it in the end? Yeah, to find Dylan. Because if denied, things just drag on. And with Brenner's health, Brenner's age, if he does pass away at some point, then is it almost impossible to find Dylan? Well, it edges closer to that, doesn't it? Let's move on to the next comment. Badger Life, thank you. And there is one here by Quintessential Organics saying, Warlight Raf, you biscuit. Great video. At the end of the video was correct spot and looks like the same mountain on the left as the heli video. I strongly believe Dylan's there 20 to 30 miles out from the pond. Not sure if you can measure out from the pond. Searchers need to see it because they're not sure where it is. So what I will do is I can measure it. Okay, it's good that Quintessential has reminded me. Yeah, I can do that. Also, what I am going to do to make it a little bit more fair, I'm going to use Google Earth to begin with, right, just from where we left off, just see what it looks like visually, and then use Bing Maps, which is probably a little bit better, okay? So I'll try and incorporate both. But I'll be using Google Earth first to do the measuring because Bing Maps doesn't allow me to measure. Okay. As well, Quintessential calling me a biscuit. Now, recently, Tasha T called me a nut. So if Quintessential is calling me a biscuit and Tasha is calling me a nut, then I guess it makes me a ginger nut. Interesting. Maybe not as ginger as Sea Org's cat, but close enough. Anyway, with those comments out the way, let's move on to the main discussion about this wash. As said, I did want to recheck this post by Candice Cooley from the Facebook page, 8th of June 2022, because I've got some additional points to add in, okay? So I'll just read it out once again, in case you've never seen it before. 8th of June 2022, really early on in the case of Dylan going missing. Her saying, we have been receiving many questions asking if we have specific locations that we'd like to have Elco search and rescue search. The answer is yes. We have been asked by Elco Sheriff's Department to send all the locations that we have searched, but those locations are in Utah and we have little help. The video below was taken from helicopters on Sunday, June the 5th. Thank you, York, of a wash in the Montello area. There were tyre tracks that are remarkably similar to the tyre treads on Dylan's pickup. These tracks are clearly visible in the wash on the video and were clearly made after the rain, possibly Sunday. Please remember that the pickup had been pressure washed when found parked at the farm. The wash was searched on the Utah side, but not the Nevada side. We need to get search dogs out there as soon as possible. The mistake made by Candice Cooley here is how it's worded. Sure, track marks in a wash on the Montello, Nevada side, but those tracks do originate from the Lucin Utah side too, as it's one continuous wash. So considering that, searches over time have been mainly focused in Lucin Utah, and yet you've got these clues, these hints, which are over in Montello, then what's the point being over here in Lucin if more of the interesting stuff is going into or is already in Montello? You think about the phone, which is almost going in the direction as if used to go into Montello in a way. That might be why Quintessential was talking about the phone ping found there, measuring the distance from the pond to the wash in Montello, and that's what we'll do, okay? Might make a bit more sense there, might tie it in together. The question is, was the Montello wash ever truly searched? Does anyone know? Maybe we can do a poll later on in this video once we've looked at it visually. As for the coordinates, yeah. Anything else here that needs mentioning? Where it says the video below from the helicopters Sunday, I can show you that footage right now in case you haven't seen it. Hopefully you should be more familiarized with that footage. Now, you want the coordinates. If I click this, here are the coordinates of that wash where the track marks were. These coordinates are of at the end of that video where the helicopter appears to be landing in that wash. Now we can click on it in a second, but obviously some of you may be wondering, how do you go from some random footage to accurately pinpointing it with precise coordinates? Well, I can provide a little backstory to you there and a comparison of the helicopter footage, photos, with some satellite imagery from Bing Maps, okay? Here is the first image. Basically, the photo on the left-hand side is of that helicopter footage, 5th of June 2022. And the photo on the right-hand side is Bing satellite footage of the same area, the same wash. I believe it's either 2022 or 2023. So it's pretty relevant, hence why they look similar. And what you will notice, if you look close enough, on the right-hand side photo, that satellite imagery clearly depicts track marks in the wash, just like how you see in the real-time footage when the helicopter was flying over. So that's very interesting, very relevant and important, okay? So I'll just give you time to be able to visualize it and see the similarities with it being the same location. Now, some of these photos might not be 100% telling, but don't worry, I've got the odd photo through this slideshow which is 100% similar and much easier to understand. Okay, it's all under control. But what I will say is because it was shout out to another individual that put these photo comparisons together, okay? The main trigger and catalyst, what set it off, was obviously me hovering over the correct area and pointing it out, but also, maybe just as important, that mountain in the distance. Not that one, but the one on the left-hand side. I can't move it any further because the picture will fly off. But on the left-hand side of the screen, that tall shaped mountain, right? It was trying to understand at the time, is it that mountain near Tacoma Road as if you were crossing over the border, or is it beyond that? Well, what I can confirm now is that the mountain closest to us on the left-hand side of the screen does belong in Lucin, Utah, and it's near to the border approaching Montello, Nevada. That mountain overhead, way into the distance, is in Montello, and so does the wash follow in that direction. Because as you remember, when trying to understand it, it must have been going in the direction of west, going towards Montello that way, to be on this side, with those mountains on that side, because you're going up this way, okay, down the wash. So that provided a bit of context there. Obviously, the depth of the wash as well is pretty deep. Have you seen the sides of those walls? Very tall, right? And as well, the width of it as well is quite big. It might not truly show up on the maps, satellite imagery. Looks can be deceiving, but when you see it real-time footage, that is pretty wide. So even in a location like that, if Dylan is buried, whether it be directly in the ground or more so the side of one of the walls, is quite a bit to search, right? Understandably, but it does narrow it down, okay? So on the right-hand side, okay, there you go, there's a satellite imagery. You can see the shadows casted from the ridge overhang of the wall. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but there are like lines, track marks. Can you see? Like middle of the screen. And then go on up that way. Like bending around, okay? Kind of similar to the track marks here. This probably isn't the clearest photo to see them, but don't worry, as said, we do have a better image upcoming. There's like another alternative angle of it, where you see that black mark there on satellite imagery. It's basically that vegetation brush, sagebrush, okay? We've got to look out for these like little clues, little hints. Now, obviously, it may have been harder to be just directly comparing with the Google Earth imagery with this helicopter, just simply because of the colouring and the timing. The 2019 satellite imagery is very green and there's more vegetation, though the more up-to-date Bing satellite imagery is more desert, sandy, beige colouring, which pairs better with what we see here. So it's more relevant and easier to compare with. And as said, we'll use both forms of satellite imagery to get the best of both worlds, okay? What you see there, centre of the screen, satellite imagery, it appears to be like a shape of a leaf. I don't know how else to explain it. A little bit oval. It looks like a bit of a mound, a bit of a desert island, centre of the screen in the middle of that part of the wash. That is basically that bit there, literally right in the middle, where it kind of looks a bit oval shaped as the track marks bend around it. Does that make sense? Okay. Move on to this one. What you see here, satellite imagery, that like lighter coloured marking in the middle of the screen. Can you see that? That lighter colour going up that way. That is basically this here going up there. Can you see? Same thing. Now, as for the track marks, you can make them out clearly here. They kind of go around that white mark, centre of the screen. Maybe if I zoom in too much, it's harder to see, so I'll zoom on out. They basically bend around it. Hopefully you can see those very faint lines on both sides going up that way. Can we see it here? Let's just zoom on out for a second. Kind of, you can see a lot of lines. Can you see those like blackish dark lines? I guess they are the track marks, right? So, I mean, in a way, depending exactly when this Bing satellite imagery is, makes you think, how long have those track marks remained visible for, right? Like, if someone was to go to the area now, I'm not suggesting it, I'm not advising it, take that into mind. This is just simply documenting archived footage and sharing with people the location specifically, and that is all. But if one was present to observe it, see it visually, would the track marks still be there? Or would there be more since? And if there was more, most likely by search and rescue people going through the area, right? Because how else are you going to get through the area if you're searching about? See, this is the awkward thing. Okay, a helicopter is practical, right? Right at the beginning, you're flying on over, it's time efficient, you can see all what's below. If you see any evidence, any markings, you're not disturbing the ground because you're not on ground level, right? But it's what happens after that. Maybe if the family return back, if the family and other resources and groups have been searching in that area, made some kind of attempt in the past, has it disrupted the track marks ever since? Well, in a way, yeah, because there'll be more than one set of track marks now with time if people have come and gone through there. That's the only problem, right? Unless you just had people walking side by side along on top of the wash, but not going inside of it. But then it kind of defeats the purpose. So really, I would say it's like one of those, you got one shot, one attempt before you start disrupting the track marks, and then it becomes confusing down the line when you go back and notice, oh, there's so many there, which one's which, because they're overlapping. It's kind of mixed up now, right? Hopefully that makes sense. We got on this one. This was the most telling, the most conclusive, okay? So whilst, yes, you do get those like black markings there, that black patch, that is basically that black patch there, okay? But in terms of the vegetation, very specific and precise. If we focus here on the satellite, on the helicopter footage, weirdly designated, but it is natural, you do have some bushes, right? You got two there near that blue line, side by side. And then here, nearby, parallel, you got two more. And then just up ahead, you got one slightly bigger bush. And that bigger bush right in the middle center of where those track marks are. Interesting. So, you know, if you drew it up, it's almost like a triangle, correct? Take that into mind. When we look at the satellite imagery, even though it's from a slightly different angle, you can clearly see those black dots. Two there, adjacent to it, two more there, and just up ahead, one bigger bush. And if you can see those faint white lines on, you know, both sides of where the bushes are centered in the middle, they're the track marks. They are the track marks. As like what you see here, that line. So not only does the satellite imagery clearly and accurately check out as the location where the helicopter flew on over, but it, like, you know, it also shows the track marks, which is obviously the most important thing with this whole Dylan Rounds case and scenario. Okay, so with that all being said and done, and the coordinates being provided, we can go on to the satellite imagery now and have a closer look at this wash, see where it goes, I guess maybe measure the distance as well, and if there's anything else that's present. And if it doesn't entirely work out, don't worry. We've got Bing Maps as well. Let's head on over right now. So the first satellite imagery for context is 2019 Google Earth imagery. We enter in the coordinates. Are you ready for this? We're loading on in. And here we are. This marker is the spot, the location of where those track marks run through the wash, going from the Lucin side, bordering onto the Montello side. A complete long wash, covering a fair bit of distance, which we can measure shortly. As we do rotate round now, facing onwards is west, going towards Montello, and the tracks follow in that direction. This is roughly the area where the helicopter landed to. I guess we're getting out to walk about, look at the track marks themselves, but it is very interesting. Now, take in mind, with it being 2019 imagery, track marks likely won't show on here due to image quality and vegetation growth at that moment. It's not exactly representative of the helicopter footage, hence why I shared with you those comparison photos from the Bing map imagery earlier on in this video. Okay, I made sure to do that so you do get a better understanding. At this moment in time, I'm just working with what I have, okay? And take this into mind, the fact that I was able and almost single-handedly and arguably blindly managed to locate the actual wash across the world, not even in the US, and on top of it, using outdated 2019 satellite imagery, which looks completely different compared to the Bing map imagery and all the other stuff in between. That's some pretty good going, that, to be honest, in my opinion. And, you know, if you're referring back to that Bing map imagery, the comparison with the helicopter footage, that little gravel pit or whitish part, which was not in the wash, but adjacent to it, but on top, normal ground level. That's like a key marker to look out for, okay? So how do we do this? Well, I think the best thing to do, first of all, is just to press the compass. So now we are facing north. I'll have to keep that black banner on at the bottom of the screen because if I click it off, the red marker will disappear too. So if we just zoom on out, so you're familiar, right? So that red marker is of the wash, where those track marks run through. Let's just be alert of the area we are in. So that white line, that dotted white line there, center the screen, where it says Utah, yes, Utah. But crossing on over to this side is Montello, Nevada, okay? This white line is the border, roughly speaking. And as you can clearly see, this red marker is on the Utah side, okay? So, yeah. The fact that the track marks were described by Candice Cooley as being on the Montello side, well then, that's a fair bit of distance for that wash where the track marks are visible in Lucin to go all the way through onto the Montello side. That's a fair bit of distance. What, you know, if those track marks are 100% truly Dylan, what that implies and suggests that, you know, there's a possibility that whoever, at least, that was disposing of Dylan at the time wanted to get as far away as possible to make it harder to locate Dylan. Now, yeah, okay, to some people it seems obvious that, but for quite some time, you know, whether it be the family, Candice Cooley, and viewers in general, a fair portion, believed that it was somewhere on site, you know, near the Grainshed property or near Dylan's farm, near the pond, roughly in that area. But no, it seems to stretch further on out, right? So there you go. Does it give the name of the wash? Unfortunately not, but I can't remember which one it is now, whether it be Bing or this other map I have, but basically I think it's called 1,000 Creek Wash or 1,000 Creek Spring, something like that. I believe I've mentioned that name once before in the past. The reason why I've opened this video up or this part of the video up with this satellite is because it's so much easier to handle. I can rotate the screen, I can flip it, I can zoom on in. It's so much more accessible. Bing Maps is shit. It's more up to date and better visually, but I just don't have the full control mobility over it. Do you understand? But whilst we're here, of course, what we can do, which we can't do on the others, is measure the distance. Kind of like what Quintessential said, right? So I'll incorporate it from where the coordinates were dotted on screen and measure it up to the Lucin pond. But then we can also go beyond that and see how far it really stretches, okay? So just zoom on out for a second. It says Lucin down here, the pond being in this area here. So a bit of distance, to be honest, from where that red marker is. As for this wash, right, you know where those brown marks are? This was the original wash, which was always talked about, referred to in the videos, which is north of the grain shed property. Is it before or after? I think it might be before the railroad tracks, possibly. Yeah, in between the railroad tracks and this wash are supposedly where the horse prints were from Brenner's horse, and Brenner himself parting ways with it, which is a very weird story, that, to be honest. But yeah, this was the wash Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly has been in, right? And you follow it all the way. You can see it there. It does end up dipping down there. It's adjacent to Lucin Pond there. But if you kept following the wash, what eventually happens is it goes underneath the railroad tracks, which you see here. It's like a little tunnel, a little like drain. I don't know what you call it really, but it goes under onto the other side, and then it goes off in that direction. It bends around, twists around, and you follow it like that. It goes in and out, in and out. This green one here, Thousand Springs Creek. Okay. We'll just follow it anyway, because if this is the name of this one, then it should, you'd expect it to connect with the red marker, correct? Let's just follow it anyway. Apologies if I'm going a bit quick, but I don't want to waste my time if it doesn't link on. It does split two ways, right and left. Let's go left. Can you see that red marker in the distance? Let's see if we can connect up to it. So it bends round here, comes this way, bends up here, comes down here, and then where does it go now? There's a little, can you see? I don't know if you can see, but there's like this mound, the railroad track. Fucking hell, it's a bit bumpy. I think there's like a tunnel or something that goes underneath, comes out on the other side. Does it? Yeah, it does. There. You know, that little black hole there goes underneath the tracks. And where do we go from here, though? And it goes up that way. But then aren't we going away from it? Maybe we're not. Let's just follow it. Bends in and out. My God, it covers some distance, doesn't it? We're approaching Tacoma Valley. We're going in the correct direction. Oh my God. Bends in and out. If you wonder why I'm going side to side, because I'm following the motion and direction and pattern of the wash. So try and maintain focus. It kind of like splits apart. Maybe it widens more, because as we saw, it did widen in some areas. Where's that marker? Where's it gone? We've got Tacoma Valley coming down here. We should be approaching it, because in the distance over that way, you know, on the left-hand side, you can see that mountain which we were talking about in that side-by-side comparison with the helicopter footage and the Bing Maps footage. And then that smaller mountain further on in the distance, which is on the Montello, Montello side. In and out, in and out. Where's that marker? There we go. Oh my God, we've done it. We've done it. Come out here. And then I guess you follow this way around. And then boom. Boom. There we go. And there's that mound. There we go. It's been done. It's been completed. This whole wash all connects. And it does. I've proven it. Make sure to rewind the video if necessary. I have proven it. I've demonstrated it. This is nailed on. This wash covers an extreme amount of distance. Should we continue? Just keep on going? Don't worry. We will measure it, but I need to follow it and see how far it goes until we reach a dead end, okay? Because so far, right, as a brief little context back to where we started, we basically started on that original wash, which was north of the grain shed property and just before the railroad tracks, and we just followed that wash all the way past Lucin Pond. It took a bend, it went underneath the railroad tracks, bent again, went on and on and on like a wiggly worm, then bent left, went underneath the railroad tracks again, came out onto the other side, went in, out, on and on and on and on, and then eventually we are now here at Thousand Creek Spring and in Tacoma Valley. Wow. This is one whole wash in a way. Let's just follow it so you can see the depth, you can see the shadows casted of the ridges, the overhang as we saw in those Bing Map photo imagery. As said, if you're wondering why the colour is different, this is 2019 satellite imagery, so there's a possibility that due to the season change, that plays a big factor. Now, when we get here, it does seem to split two ways, but let's just follow it this way, okay? In and out, in and out. The shadow of that ridge overhang does make it easier to follow the wash, so you can see the depth clearly. So bend in and out, really big bend there, right? Comes back down, and then what do we have here? Kind of peters off to the right, but gets a bit narrow. And then once we get here, it kind of just, well, it reaches like a dead end, doesn't it? But you got Luray Wash over there, so we just track back a little bit and turn right and follow this one. It gets very narrow, a little bit dodgy, but I can see a little bit of like wash shaping. Unless this is like literally wide open. It's once we get to this point here, right? Once we get to this section, you know, if we're looking back, all that distance way over there, back that way, that's looking east at Lucin, Utah, and where the grain shed property is over that way. We've covered quite a bit of distance, but at this spot here, this zone, is it a dead end? Can anyone confirm? Luray Wash is just over that way. That is another wash from the looks of it, but I don't know. Can anyone confirm, does Luray Wash connect onto the wash which goes into Lucin, Utah? Can anyone confirm that? If you can, make sure to leave a comment down below in the comment section. I know people can, you know, say it in the chat, but for it to be a lasting impression, you know, very important talk this, very important questions require very important answers. And if they're in the comment section, then everyone can see it and look at it down the line. So make sure to post it there if you have an answer, okay? If we just zoom out here at this point, right, I would put a beacon or a marker down, but then we would lose the original coordinates, so I'm not going to risk that. If we zoom on out here, right, we're still on the Utah side, right? We're still on the Utah side, okay? What about Luray Wash, though? Luray Wash is on the Montello side. Okay, so does Luray Wash connect back to... Oops, sorry. Does Luray Wash connect back to that red marker over there? It could do. Because if we think about it, this wash, Luray, it looks pretty wide. I don't know if it's just this brown mark, this brown patch is the wash itself, and then everything around it is normal ground level. It could be. Maybe when we look at Bing Maps or something, it might be a little bit easier to see the depth of it. But Luray Wash seems to gather here, the start or the end of it, and it works its way over that way. What I'm trying to say is, if it's two separate washes, then it would imply supposedly Dylan Round's track marks of his vehicle went through the Thousand Creek Spring wash, going through Tacoma Valley, Lucin, Utah, heading west to go to the Montello side. But then the next wash you're greeted with in that direction would be Luray Wash. And if Candice Cooley is saying there are track marks on the Montello side, a wash in Montello, then are we looking at Luray Wash? Possibly. As for the coordinates I've provided today, that's more to do with the helicopter footage documenting those track marks which go on west onwards into the Montello side. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, there doesn't appear to be any helicopter footage, continuous footage of going on and on further on. But we've been able to document and pinpoint the footage, what we've got in public view, okay? And it provides a good idea of the direction they were heading in and the direction of where the tracks were going. They were heading straight towards Montello. How far into Montello, I don't know. But it would make sense, whether it be now, but more so at the time, it would have made sense to literally just follow those tracks as far as possible. And then once those track marks end, let's say the vehicle abruptly stops or there's a turnaround spot, that could be the final location and the location where Dylan Rounds is buried, right? If there's 100% certainty with those track marks, if it's possible whatsoever, right? Because how it's been worded with time, some people seem very confident. Other people are a little bit on the fence. Candice Cooley feels that there's a decent certainty, right? Obviously, more so in recent time, Candice Cooley has been looking in other locations. So that could imply something else. But when it comes to the track marks, when it comes to this wash, from what I can remember at least, through all the updates when they have talked about searching a wash, looking in a wash, they were very confidential, they were very quiet, they were very, cryptic about it, right? They didn't really give off much. So because they didn't give off much, we didn't really hear a true outcome to whether it's been solved, debunked, or it's ongoing. Hence why we're doing this discussion video right here, right now, okay? So based off that extreme distance, what I want to do now, and hopefully I can successfully do it, at least from the end point of where we were, okay? Where should we... Do you know what? It does look like it continues on. It's kind of hard to see. I'm just seeing how far... Give me a second. I'm just working out the best spot to do the markings, okay, so it's accurate. I mean, is that a wash itself? Right, I'll just do it to the point where I think it comes to an end. And we're just going to work our way back, okay? But I'm worried that the red marker will go. Let me just try it quickly. Does it go? It does. Does it go completely? Yeah, okay. So I think the safest option... I mean, we were able to do it, right? Right, let's just mark from this spot, this coordinates, all the way back to Lucin Pond. Now, I don't know what way you want me to measure it, right? Do you know when it's come to measuring roads from the Lucin area to Montello when we were looking at the route and it was about 26.5 miles? But then I think there was another time where I said it was shorter, but people were like, oh, well, it's because you skipped across. You didn't actually follow the road route by route. So I'm assuming that when measuring the distance of a wash, you literally have to follow that direction of the wash, even if it does twist and twirl, bend around things, goes in and out, shake it all about, okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally measure it from the coordinates which we've received, which are from that helicopter footage. We'll do it from here, going all the way back to Lucin Pond, just to get a roughish idea of the length of the wash, okay? See if it ties in within that 20 to 30 mile distance, which was mentioned by Quintessential, yes or no. And then we'll go from there, okay? If it's successful, then I can measure it all the way back to the grain shed property nearby of the wash and work all the way back up this way, all the way to the end, approaching Luray Wash, and see what the total distance is of the entire wash, because the mileage has never been ultimately given until now, okay? So make sure to stick around. If you have just joined, welcome. If you want the true, full, deep understanding, I'd advise you to rewind back to the start of this video to really understand, because it's an important one, okay? So, we're going to work backwards. Put the marker here. I will zoom out a little bit just for the sake of it, so it's a bit more practical. Is it easy to do this? Not really. A little bit time consuming. Basically, I've just kind of got to follow the white marks, right? Can't seem to flip the screen. I'm going to try and make it as accurate as possible. Tacoma Valley. Bends around like that. Feel free to chat as we do go along. There's another way I can do this if I really want to. Okay. We should be approaching the railroad track shortly. Well, I hope we are. Oops. Right, I'm going to zoom in out because it's taking way too long. Okay, cool. There we go. So it might be a little bit messy, this, okay? But that's only because I'm trying. It's very faint looking for those, like, marks, right? It's like I've got a... Oh, you cunt. What are you doing? What are you trying to do, you little fucker? Don't you dare mess with me when I'm trying to focus here, technology. This is important. I'm not going to be stopped because of this trash. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay. Just zoom on in for a second. I'm going to do it very rough now because it's too fiddly. Are we on track? Boom. We are on track. We're going. There we go. Through there. Onto the other side. Bosh. There we go. And it gets a bit easier now because the wash is a lot clearer. As said, if I could do this on Bing Maps with more accessibility and mobility, I would definitely do so, because visually it's a lot easier, okay? You know what I was thinking? Instead of doing the whole distance again, why not just measure down to here, take a note of it, and then add it on from the red mark going up to Luray Wash, so I'm not doing it all over again. I think that would be perfect. Okay. The reason why I'm somewhat zoomed in and it takes a bit longer is just so I know what I'm looking at. Okay, so Where I'm currently at, 8.74 miles. On the right-hand side, where you see that little dirt road, right? Like a T-bone section, Miss T, you'll know about that T-bone. Basically, more on the right-hand side, you got those building structures. That is the grain shed property. On the right-hand side of the screen, grain shed property. About 8.74 miles. Can I please let me put this down? There we go. And I'll just do it so we're facing north. Okay, we are currently facing north. Hopefully you can see that yellow line. That is the wash. That is the entire singular wash, which does actually go on a little bit further onwards. Okay, take that in mind. I've not included that here, but it does bend round and come on over. Okay. Oh my God, it actually does. Oh, it's a little bit clearer there. Ooh. Oh. Ah, okay. Okay. I'm just making sure I'm facing west. Okay. All I'm doing now is just simply looking at it in general, because when you've actually got the wash coloured on in, it makes it a little bit easier. Maybe what probably would have been better would have been to do like a project and draw a line all the way through to begin with, but I wasn't thinking of that on there at the moment, but I've drawn it out for you anyway, as you can clearly see on screen already. Luray Wash, Montello, Nevada side, Utah side, works its way back to here. So if we follow this line, give me a second, and we follow it all the way down here. No, don't do that. I think it, I don't know. Oh, hang on. Oh my God. Wait. Is that photo there? Do you know that structure? Isn't that the one by the Texas Equisearch, Candice Cooley, Justin Rounds, and Mob Crew Chris when they went down there before the winter, the big push before winter time, 2022, when you had that photo of Justin Rounds on the edge of this structure, and he was looking ahead into the distance, pointing down that way into the Lucin side. Oh, wow. I think I might have found it. Whoa. That's weird. Does anyone remember what I'm talking about right now? Does anyone remember? Let me know your thoughts. Right, hopefully I can transition onto the photo what I'm talking about without losing anything, cross my fingers. So basically, context is, okay, you remember in 2022, right? Oh, let me just add one more point in quickly. Quintessential, that yellow line, what I measured out from the coordinates given in this video, the coordinates of that helicopter footage where it basically landed. From there all the way back to the grain shed property, the total mileage is about 8.74 miles, nowhere near the 20 to 30 mile range, okay? I know you said from the pond area up to 20, 30 miles onwards, but I worked backwards, okay? And I went a bit past the pond. Do you understand? What I will do, quintessential, is measure from the pond all the way back up this way on screen within that 20 to 30 mile distance. And once we reach it, maybe take notes, and then we'll continue on up to further this point to see the total distance, okay? But that aside, what I want to talk about right now, so hopefully people are focused, when we're looking that way, we're looking towards Lucin, Utah. You got the border here, I believe. Okay, where it says Utah, that's like the border. Over in that direction, okay, is where that wash is, where it comes from. And it might come all the way up to here. I don't know if it connects with Luray Wash. If anyone can confirm it, feel free to do so. But in terms of the structure within this area, this one here, I might be wrong, but it just looked kind of familiar with this photo. It looks like a platform, okay? What you'd stand on top of. Just correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going to show you that photo, what I'm talking about. So here we are. So do you see what I mean? Like that weird wooden structure where it looks like a platform. Obviously, when you're looking down at it on satellite imagery, it's going to look flat. But in terms of the colour, the shape, the structure, the woodiness of it, it looks very similar. And this is what I was referring to with that before winter time of 2022 big push, where you had Justin Rounds. That's Justin Rounds up there talking with a member of Texas Equisearch, just searching about the area, right? And I think the way they're facing east, looking at Lucin, Utah. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? And I believe behind them is in the direction of west, going into Montello, Nevada, and onwards is Luray Wash. So maybe when I was talking about, 1,000 Creek Spring, Tacoma Valley, that wash, the wash with the track marks in, comes up to this point here where it's a dead end. Is that a possibility? Or does it connect on? Let me know. Now, one other thing, Quintessential mentioned about the wash, the beginning of it or so, where it broke, the walls broke. Is this the area you're talking about, Quintessential? Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. It's so weird how it's all coming together now, like in a visual map basis. These locations of interest, which have been searched with time, maybe nothing was found, we are now able to see them on the maps because it just so happens to appropriately follow the direction from where the tracks came from, coming up this way, down this wash, which eventually reaches this point, I think. Wow. That's weird, that. It is weird. There's a lot to take in. I would advise everyone watching right now and in the future, you probably need to rewatch this video, maybe more than twice, to really understand what we're talking about. So just a brief debrief. We have provided coordinates to the actual wash where the helicopter footage took place, 5th of June 2022, where the track marks were also found, which goes on and on west. We followed the wash, which before going over to the Montello side, we kind of like come across this structure, and past that is the Luray Wash, which could be what continues on. How far do those track marks go on for, though, if it approaches Montello? Not quite sure. I don't know that. But we are heading in the right direction, okay? As for the total distance of this wash, it's quite great. And I will measure it, and we'll return back to that in a second. Once we've done that, I'll go on Bing Maps and I'll share with you what it looks like more up to date, visually. We won't analyze too much there because I can't rotate the screen, but you can at least see what it looks like in more modern time, okay? So, wow. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to rethink and look back at, okay? For now, let's just return back to Google Earth and hope that that distance is still there. There we are back on satellite imagery, and there's that structure, which I believe is the structure, what you saw in that photo just then, where Justin was on top of it. I've never seen it before until I went in this direction, right? And that's only because in the past there wasn't really a need to be in this particular spot, but there is now. And looking down that way, I mean, there appears to be like some kind of like ditches. I don't know if this is a wash itself, which bends in and out. I can't quite see the depth of it, so I can't really tell with certainty. But the wash, 1,000 Creek Spring, appears to be this one. which when you follow it all the way back, goes onto the yellow line. The beginning of this yellow line, the beginning of this yellow line is where the helicopter landed, okay? And before that is where it originally came from and where the track marks originally came from, called Tacoma Valley. Comes all the way down here, bends in and out, a total of 8.67 miles, apologies. Thousand Springs Creek. Oh, that must be the one which branches off. Okay, fair enough. Does it connect onto the one what I was looking at though? Sorry for going off. No, it doesn't. Let's fuck that. Get rid of that. Following on the yellow line, bending in and out. It does go underneath the railroad tracks, okay? Apologies about the processing. It just can't keep up with my brain, okay? Goes underneath the railroad tracks. You can see the holes underneath. You know those black holes? The water can pass underneath the railroad tracks. But obviously, if you've got a high volume of water, it could lead to the tracks being worn away. Comes down here. Comes down here. And then this point... The only reason why I ended here is simply because it's adjacent to the grain shed property. And because the track marks are going up that way west, there wouldn't be any need to go further down that way east if the track marks, let's just say, begin here. And why would they begin here or maybe nearer to the pond? It'd probably be more practical that. I think I acknowledge Quintessential's point there. I think we are on the same track. No pun intended. Because, look, what you got to understand is, okay, the total distance of the wash may start way down that way east, if you're following that brown line, and continue over that way west, approaching Montello. But there needs to be a realistic start point. And the reason why round here is the beginning of the start point is because it's near to the grain shed property. That's where Brenner squats or lives. That's where Dylan was killed. So the track marks went into the wash. It would be around here if Brenner's driving on into the wash. But where is the most accessible route? Where's the most accessible spot to get into the wash, like a road which literally drives on into it? Well, and I'm just going to tell the story very quickly so you can really visualize whether it be Brenner or someone else possibly driving Dylan's pickup truck on the 28th, if not on the 29th, when disposing of Dylan rounds. So either date, it has rained, the ground is moist and wet. Dylan's pickup truck may be here or it may be at the farm collected. And let's just say it's Brenner. People are saying, I think Candy's Cooley, Brenner would take the back roads. What's the back roads of Lucin? Going south and then turning right. So, once again, apologies about the, what do you call it? The processing of the screen and video quality. It is shit, okay? 8.67 miles, okay? We'll just remember that. Can we round it up? We'll just 8.67. You can add that on top of the rest of the distance. Should we do it now? Oh, do you know what? I'm going to do it now before I forget. I can't waste it right now. Fuck this. I've got to do it right now. 8.67. Remember that. 8.67. And we continue from here. I've got to do it now before we tell the story. It's very important. Why does it keep doing that? For fuck's sake. It's so funny when I'm really focused and locked on. It's the one time where all the obstacles, people, technology, where it can mess up on me the most. It's like denying me of trying to reveal this to you. Maybe it's because someone doesn't want it revealed. Right, is this the end point? Once again, the processing is fucking shambles. Shambolic. So really, I wasn't that far away anyway, to be honest. Yeah, because further on that way is, you got Nevada and, okay, 1.6. So really, it's like, if I wasn't too certain that the Tacoma Valley Wash, which begins a bit before the Grainshed property, works its way all the way up this way, going west. If it doesn't connect with Luray Wash and it ends before that, then it's like a total of 9. Let's round it up. It's like roughly 10 plus miles. Not a lot, to be honest. 10 miles, the Wash. I mean, Snake River, completely different area, different case, but Snake River is significantly longer, I believe. Okay. So the reason why it says 1.66 miles on the screen, if you're a bit confused, basically, I started from the red beacon point of the original coordinates provided of that helicopter footage and roughly where it landed. I originally put the marker there and measured all the way back to the Grainshed property, which was a total of 8.67 miles in distance. And then instead of going from back there all the way up to here, which would be more time consuming, I just basically put the measuring stick at the beginning point of that red marker and worked my way up this way, which was only 1.66 miles. So 1.66 miles plus the 8.67 miles, it's encroaching around 10 miles in total of this entire wash. I'd say 10 plus miles. Okay, so you've got 10 plus miles of a singular connecting wash, one entire wash, right? 10 miles to search through. It's not just the ground, but also the walls of the wash on both sides. That's pretty time consuming, right? But it really does narrow down and concentrate of the area, right? You're not just endlessly scouring the fields of Lucin, the vastness. No, you're going down. It's almost like tunnel vision, isn't it? You got these supposed track marks of Dillon, and then you start using tunnel vision to go west. It's the only way you're going. You're going west. Go west. That's literally it, because that's the way the wash follows in that direction, and the way the track marks are going as well. So there we go. Wow. Now, what you got to understand, okay? All what we've looked at today, technically Candice Cooley said back then, 8th of June, we've looked at it. We've looked at the wash in Lucin, Utah, but we haven't in Montello. So really, Montello is the area which may need like a separate analysis, right? The reason why I'm not including it directly here is because I left it on a cliffhanger question as to, does Tacoma Valley Wash connect onto Luray Wash, or is it two separate ones? If it's two separate ones, then what? Brenner drove Dillon's vehicle through the wash, then got back out, went into Montello, then drove back down into a wash. Why would you bother driving through a certain wash to then go onto a different wash? Why not use the dirt roads before that to get to the second wash and then drive into that wash instead of the original one? Is it to lay low? It could be. You know, if you're in the wash, you're lower down, people aren't going to see you as easy. If you're on a dirt road, you're out in the open, you're more visible. And if there's like farmers, ranchers within the area, they'll obviously see the vehicle in use. Whereas if you're in the wash, you're kind of in a blind spot. So that's probably what Brenner did, right? Yeah, that would make sense. It's like trying to drive through as many tunnels as possible to avoid detection from helicopters. You know, kind of that motive behind why you're trying to be concealed when you're driving to a desired location. But in this case, the track marks do leave a print behind. So what I would also say is, if Candice Cooley said that we've searched the wash in Lucin, Utah, basically the one what we've looked at today, all this yellow lining and beyond, okay? If that's already been searched, and Candice Cooley said that, then why did they go back many months later, before winter time of 2022? If you've already searched it and ticked it off the list, why go back with the Texas EquiSearch? Is it because of the additional resources you had at that point? Stuff what you didn't have to begin with? The canine unit, the drones. Possibly, I'd understand that, and like just double checking it to make sure. Well, okay then. If that is the case, was the wash in Montello double checked? First of all, was it even searched to begin with? All I've ever heard was what Lance Kelly said. Lance Kelly assisted Candice Cooley with the handling of cadaver dogs in the Montello side of a wash, but that wash was never really revealed, explained, or coordinates provided. So can anyone else confirm the wash in Montello was searched or not? Anyone? And if so, was it double checked? Because if the wash in Lucin, Utah was double checked, then so should the Montello wash. And once again, that other question of, is it two separate washes or one singular one? Because from this yellow line, it does seem to reach a bit of a dead end in terms of the shape of it. Further on down this way, across the border, crossing the border now, you do have Luray Wash here, right? So when Candice Cooley refers to the track marks in Montello, which originated from a wash in Lucin, is this the wash Candice is talking about? Once again, to reiterate, the helicopter footage which you saw earlier on in this video, the wash what we've been looking at, the coordinates provided, is all to do with that. What we've branched onto into this video as well is looking past it. How much further does it go? How much further do those track marks go? Candice Cooley wording it as in Montello. Is Candice Cooley even being accurate? Or could she get that wrong? That maybe it ended just before the border. Possibility, right? It's a possibility to get that, make that mistake. You might assume that it's crossed the border, but it hasn't entirely. And from the looks of this wash, it ends before it meets Luray Wash. Correct me if I'm wrong, as I said. Wow. Wow. So we got an idea of the total distance of the wash, roughly speaking, right? I know Quintessential mentioned about the 20-30 mile distance check. Just bear with me for a second. Let's just wait for this to load in. I really don't know why it's struggling so much. So let's just give it another go. What I do want to refer back to, you remember when I said, oh, I need to measure the rest of that wash before I forget. Well, just before that point, I was talking about telling that story of the 28th or the 29th of May 2022 when either Brenner or maybe someone else may have used Dylan's pickup. And that's what led to disposing of Dylan, but also the track marks being left in the wash because it raining on those 2 days, so the ground was moist. And you remember when I was saying how, you know, where would be the best access point to get into that wash to then head west? Well, it would be near to the pond. And I think that's what ties in with Quintessential, okay? So I'll explain it more. Make sure we're facing north. Lucin area to begin with, the wash, the pond there. But before that, we need to get to the grain shed property. So let's just say that Brenner wakes up on the day, 29th, or if not that, on the 28th during the afternoon, evening or so. Because there is, when we looked at the timestamps, there is enough hours in the day for Brenner to do something. And if not, the 29th. And the 29th wouldn't surprise me if that's the actual day Dylan was disposed of. And the only reason why I say that, okay, is because it's been a very quiet day. Not much has been mentioned. But do you know what? I'm going to mention something very unexpected on the spot now, and maybe it can be done in a future video. Quintessential or someone said about, oh, on the 29th, Don Hately and Brenner went on a fishing trip. Well, isn't that interesting? Prospector Gold and Bibbins said a place where Dylan could be buried is either near Owl Spring or Rabbit Springs Reservoir. Prospector saying Rabbit Springs Reservoir is where a portion of Dylan Round's remains were found. Whether that's bullshit or not. Over in that direction, there is water, right? And if there's water, there could be fishes. So that could tie in with that 29th of May 2022 fishing trip by Brenner and Don Hately, who went in that direction, past Lucin Airport, onwards to then dispose of Dylan in some way. That's how you could tie it in with that. But we're not going all in on that idea. I just wanted to suggest it on the spot because of my memory and what I've been recently looking at. If anyone has a headache, I don't blame you. Do I have a headache? Not at all. I'm really locked on at this moment in time. Hopefully, majority of the people in the chat, even if people are a bit pissing about or there's a bit of disruption, hopefully you are making notes. Get your fucking notepads out. Get the fucking Amazon rainforest and all the trees out to scribble all these notes down because there's a lot being talked about in today's video. Okay? So, to tell that story of the 28th or more so the 29th, how Candice Cooley has worded it previously, Brenner getting into Dylan's pickup truck, let's just say it was parked here or so, driving down, going south, but probably before reaching Sun Tunnels, maybe before the gate, turning right down that way, possibly. It depends if he did take shortcuts or not. This should go down to the brow shed, which you can see there, where it's a little bit blue. Turning off, as you see those track marks. Then turning right, as if you were going to approach Lucin Hill. Brenner driving down here, let's say. Crossroad, turning right here. And this does go right up to Lucin Pond, which you see here. Okay, that's Lucin Pond. But just before that, on this back road, it drops down into the wash. The wash. The wash. The track marks. So let's say the track marks begun at this crossroad section and then they went in that direction. That would make total sense because, as I said, when we do follow it, and I'm going to speed it up once again, driving in and out, swerving, going round and round. Slight changes colour a bit, drops down a bit, left, right, underneath railroad because you see those holes, comes over, bends round, branches out over this way, comes down here, up this way, and then it takes another left further on up. There we go. Thousand Springs Creek. But just before that, we got this way, this way. I'm just doing it quick. And then left, bends round, and once we get here, boom, go underneath the railroad track onto the other side. It's like a rally course, this, to be honest. Turns around, left, right, on and on and on, boom, 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 Tacoma Valley. As I said, Brenner still driving down this way. That's why you see all those track marks. And roughly in this area, once we get a bit further on, okay, I'll tell you when, I'll say stop. Okay, keep going. Stop. This being the spot, I believe. Let me just double check. Oh, I was just a bit before that. Stop. There we go. This is the area where the helicopter was flying on over, which would have come from all the way down that way, I said, and made the journey up here. You can visualize the helicopter following the tracks in this direction, the way I've gone, the same way Brenner may have done, or someone else may have done if they were using Dylan's pickup truck to go down here and on over into Montello, right? So a great length of track marks, regardless of the quality of them, a great length and a great depth covered. Wow. And yet the track marks have kind of fallen a bit quiet and just went bit flat. Too late? Was not enough done that early on? Maybe. So, because we now have the direction, the vision, the way it went, then we need to check the Montello washes next. Because that's the area Candice Cooley originally wanted searching. If that's the track marks which went on from the Lucin wash and it kept going on into Montello, then you need to follow it as far as possible, as far as it will reach. And if it does reach a dead point, a spot where someone stops, then maybe that's where Brenner parked up, stopped, started burying Dylan, let's say, and then turned back round and went all the way back the way he came. Is that a possibility? Maybe. So what I'm thinking is, I really hope people can answer my questions in this video today. I really hope people can provide those deep, clear visual explanations down below in the comment section. And if successful, what can be done in a future video is maybe looking at the Montello wash as a continuation from this video. And to make it better, the next video, which I'll do eventually, I can incorporate the little project drawing the coloured lines to highlight the wash which we looked at today. So for if whatever reason anyone is completely fucked in the head at the moment, like confused, migraines, headaches, you're really confused, you're frustrated, you're pissed off, that project, that map project will be mapped out much clearer next time. It'll be all under control, it'll be visual, it'll be better, but this was raw, and it had to be raw for a real reason. The reactions were raw, real time, on the spot. This is all natural, just like the natural formation of the wash, okay? Flowing, going in a certain direction, a particular direction, maybe the direction of the way the case is heading, or should have been heading to begin with. Wow. Right, so you may wonder, why all of a sudden are we on this screen? Have we just teleported somewhere? Not quite. We're still within the same area. We still have the same pinpoint coordinates on screen right now of that wash where the helicopter flew on over. Only difference is we're looking at it from the point of view of Bing Maps. Okay, Bing Maps, bit more up to date visually too. Just zoom on in roughly around the area to see if we can actually see track marks if they're present in this satellite imagery, right? There should be, but you never know. Also, what I do want to acknowledge, quintessential, that 20-30 mile review distance check from the Lucin Pond up that wash, which we've done today. It's more practical to do in a standalone video, that, okay, or the next follow-up video when we do the Montello wash. For good reason, quintessential. It's all under control. It's very necessary because I need to do an actual map project, draw the line out of the actual wash. So when I do measure the entire wash and the 30-mile distance, that I don't go off track. I don't want to end up going down the wrong route. It gets very messy, right? And it'll all tie in line with the whole colourful aspect of being able to visually see it a lot clearer, right? Yes, there is a chance people, just some in the chat might have complained about me going too fast or rotating the screen left, right, all over the place, but it was necessary. It was necessary to almost depict the tone, the presence, the motion that was going at the time of when maybe Brenner or someone else was driving through that wash, in and out, bending in and out, the track marks, bending around, moving at somewhat of a speed, kind of like what I demonstrated today. It was necessary. If I went any slower, it would have been as slow as Dale the snail. It wouldn't have been practical, right? It'd probably be like 2 years from now till getting to the grain shed if Dale tried. So that's the reason. As well, what I want to acknowledge, when I said about checking the comments out of my last video and the Shack Lady's endless paragraph memoir story, we'll take a look at that in a separate video. I don't think it's necessary here. This video has already gone on long enough and I don't want to divert attention elsewhere when this is a very important talking point. I'm still processing in my head, what the hell do I title this video? I can't fit the actual title into this video because it's so in-depth and long. I'll have to try and think of something. It needs, it's important, right? It's an important video, important coverage. Must be keywords. I'll think of something on the spot. I'll try. But, the original video, only 450 people saw it. Supposedly a very important video, very important footage, and yet only 450 people saw it. That is extremely disappointing. So I've got bad feelings, personally, okay? I've got very bad feelings about the outcome of this video when it comes to spreading awareness, letting people know what's what, the location of the tracks. It's very unfortunate. I guess it's just the timing at the end of the day. People have moved on to other cases. But 100% there are still very important talking points in this case regardless, and that's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still doing videos on the Dylan Rounds case. So if people wish to share the video or even pass it on to someone they know who may not know about this, feel free to do so because it might help other people better understand the case, right? It might answer people's long-awaited questions. You never know. Anyway, back to Bing Maps. So what's familiar? What's the same thing? Well, that little mound on the side, just in parallel to the wash. You can see that mound, so that's still there. It never went, okay? I can't zoom in anymore, unfortunately. Now, can I see any track marks? I can definitely see some stuff, yeah. Yeah, I can see track marks, I can't really point it out because, I can't zoom into the maps. But, as said, at the start of this video, or towards the start, shout out to that individual that actually did a side-by-side comparison of the helicopter footage and their Bing map satellite imagery. I think they might have downloaded Bing Maps or they probably took a screenshot from the computer that way. So they had a bit more accessibility. So at least we actually portrayed it early on into this video. That's the important part. We got it in there. This is just me showing you from my point of view when it comes to Bing Maps. But if you definitely look center the screen in that wash, you can definitely make out track marks. Are they of Dylan? Possibly. Yeah, I can definitely see the track marks. Yeah. Now, I know some people will be like, well, why not follow the track marks? Probably a good idea, that, to be honest. I just feel that this video has gone on so long. It's weird. I wonder if I can just follow at least to the pond area just to see. Right. Oh, it's not even responsive. Right, the wash there. Where do the track marks begin though? Well, I can clearly see the track marks. Oh my God. They're so visible as well. But this is the thing. Okay, this could be somewhat more up to date, but even before Dylan Rounds went missing, it was worded as there was track marks in washes, like people would just drive through them because they were able to, if they didn't want to go down other roads, like shortcuts possibly. But, this is all to do with Dylan, these track marks. But do they go... that's the thing, though. You got the track marks back here as well before the pond area. It goes all the way through, so maybe this is a bit different. But then... I can't really see any track marks there. It doesn't seem as visible. But then you could start saying there's track marks everywhere. This is what I mean. If people have been there ever since, it could be from the search and rescue team. It could be from the police. It could be from Candice Cooley. It could be from anyone, right? That's the one big issue with the case going on for so long. Where does it look like the track marks actually begin? Well, it's like round this area. And I can't even put down coordinates because of the stupid limitation of this crap. Why not go all the way over here? That beacon is. This was the dead zone, like the end point. And my God, it's definitely rough and rugged there. Are the track marks present here? It's actually hard to see, to be honest. It looks more narrow. If I'll be honest with you, I could be wrong, but at least just visually looking, it looks like they actually end at this point as well. Because I can't really see them any further on because it gets very narrow and bumpy. Well, if that really was the case, then maybe this is the end point then. Let me know if you can see any track marks in the wash which continue onwards, because I just can't seem to see it. Oh, now it lets me zoom on in. Thank you. Why did you not let me do that before? No, I can't really see track... Oh, wait. Oh, maybe I can see track marks. Yeah, I can see track marks. But when does it end? Right, so it branches off here but reaches a dead end. That looks really weird, that. And it reaches a dead end here. What about the one that goes off? Oh, no, it doesn't, does it? Oh, yeah. On this side, it looks like it's been stitched together because of the colouring. Luray Wash is here, I believe. And you follow that like that routing highway there. Oh wait, hang on, oh no, did someone say that it was southeast or something, or southwest of the highway? Because you've got Luray Wash here and it's near to Highway 30. Oh my God, how is my memory doing all this capacity? Normally there was that guy on YouTube where he says, I'm afraid I don't have the capacity. I've got the fucking capacity here right now. I'm thinking, you know, for when the next video comes out, probably do it in a couple of days' time, because if I rush it too soon, it's probably not practical. With going this deep, I don't think anyone's gone this deep before in a style of video like this. Wow. Yeah, so to be honest, it looks like the Tacoma Valley wash doesn't link onto... it doesn't seem to link onto the Montello wash from looking at it here, because when I said it reaches a dead end, it literally looks like it reaches a dead end, unless... No, it just looks like it reaches a dead end, to be honest. So if it reaches a dead end, then likely the track marks must have come out of that wash to then go into Montello and then drive back into another wash. You get what I'm saying? What the fuck? Oh, hang on. What's this all about? Looks like it's filled with water. Can I actually find that that structure as well? Well, I don't know, because I can't rotate the bloody image. Crikey, mate. Could do an Australian accent right now. Like, what the hell's that? I don't know. See, it's hard when you're working backwards and you can't rotate the screen around. Right, but you at least saw the wash. Same exact wash what we looked at earlier, just more up-to-date satellite imagery. And in this satellite imagery, Bing Maps, it did depict track marks in the wash. The 2019 one didn't really show it. And maybe you wouldn't expect it either, if it's all to do with Dillon Rounds, relevant to the actual year it happened. Yeah, okay. I think we should leave it there for now. If you do have any questions regarding this video, trying to understand it, list it down below in the comment section. If you're confused, If you're dazed, dizzy, pissed off, you have grievances with this video of mine, list it down below. I'm sure it can be rectified in the next one. It should be fine. If you do have interesting bits of information, share it down below. If you do have answers to my earlier questions, list it down below in the comment section. As said, quintessential, the 20-30 mile distance thing from the pond onwards west, we can look at in, the other video, but I need to mark it out with lines. So then when I do measure it, the distance of 30 miles, I can zoom out and then I can do bang, 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 like really fast action. Whereas today I was doing it very raw. It's the rawest it's ever been. And for someone like Miss T, maybe even that's a bit too uncomfortable. Anyway, what's your crazy? Yeah. Anyway, let's leave it there. As said, make sure to leave comments down below. Make sure to spread awareness of this discovery. Coordinates, never been done before, never been seen before. As for providing specific coordinates, people might have been there, people might have searched through the wash, Ty Corbin, Lance Kelly at a point in time, yeah. But actual coordinates, actual measuring the distance of it, depicting, retelling the story of how events could have unfolded on the 28th or more so the 29th. It feels like something like this has been dormant for far too long. Maybe stuff has gone on in the background, but because it's not been talked about as clearly publicly, we've had to work it out ourselves. And maybe there's always a possibility that stuff like this could be debunked or could be criticised. But if you don't have the answer, you got to question and come up with your own ideas and think outside of the box during times of silence, right? So if down the line there is an update, there is some kind of debunking, I will definitely cover it on my channel, okay? But for now, it remains open for questioning and just coming up with ideas. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new, never seen before. Leave your thoughts down below. And once again, I do advise you to rewatch this video another time so you really understand it, okay? And if you have joined late, make sure to rewind back to the beginning. That's it for now. I'm gonna sleep, well, later. But thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night for now.